Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show. What an honor it is to have a cat that I know I was definitely cosmically connected to, fantastic musician. Misha, Olarrea, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Oh, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Can you just talk about your concept of love and how you channel that love in your playing?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a great question. I would say that the most important thing is that I think love takes patience, and so I think the most important thing in love is patience, and I think the most important thing in playing is patience. Personally, I don't really like playing a lot of lines. Most of the time when I play really what I hear, I don't play that many lines just because I feel like it takes a lot of the interactivity and in the moment, spur of the moment ideas that I think make jazz so special out of it. So I make sure that I work on my patience so that I don't end up getting impatient and playing a bunch of lines that I don't want to play.
Well, let me just ask you, you mentioned the word jazz.
Mhm.
If Misha and I went up and down the street in Tucson today, 110-degree weather, and asked 20 different people what their concept of jazz is, we get 20 different answers.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So instead of saying, my question for you is, what are the ingredients to making spiritual music? I don't even call it.
Yeah.
I just feel that word, whatever that represents, it doesn't necessarily represent what I consider the music I hold so deeply. But what are the antecedents?
I would agree with that. I would agree with that for sure. I think that a very large part of the music that is spiritual is being in the moment. I think that's the biggest thing, and the second biggest thing is listening. Just like with love, you gotta listen, and you gotta not put your wants and needs in front of everyone, but you have to listen to everyone and make sure that you're collectively communicating. Otherwise, it doesn't really flow together, and you don't get the connection that makes the music so spiritual. Without that connection, you can't really connect with the audience if you're not even connecting with your fellow bandmates.
You've been in situations with people that are quote unquote wanking it on the bandstand, where they just basically they're oblivious to because that's the magic of the music that I love.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what genre it is. It's just always about, is there a conversation? How
Yeah.
vibrant is it? But yet there are a lot of band leaders or people like that just again, if it's Train and Elvin going at it for 40 minutes,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, have you been in a situation where you learned what not to do?
I mean, of course, and I also think that I've also definitely been that person sometimes. I feel like everybody's been that person. You might have a rough day, and just mentally you're not prepared to be that vulnerable and that in the moment. But yeah, definitely, especially with more funk type music and more pop type music, it's common for especially other instrumentalists just kind of check out, and I've also done that as well. But it's always a good learning experience to be around that and to have that happen, because after the gig you always go home and you're like, oh man, I'm not really happy about the way that I played, and I'm not really happy about the environment that was there. But that's just I think that's a thing that every musician experiences, and just gotta learn to accept it and move on, and just try to find people that you think will listen and communicate with each other.
Can you give an example in your career about, because what we're talking about a lot of time with patients is like removing your ego, and
sure.
can you just cite an example early on when you learned at least a little bit how to get out of your own way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in high school I didn't really work on that.
Right, you were
too
just
much.
blowing,
Yeah, exactly. They're just kind of blowing and wiggling your fingers. But I got to college, and my professor at college is a very spiritual and very.
Who's this
patient.
cat?
His name is Matt Otto.
Where is the college?
I went to University of Kansas.
Wow. Well, how do you spell his last name?
Otto is spelled Eotto. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, just like my buddy Raphael. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So he was a spiritual cat.
Oh yeah, super spiritual cat. He lived in a Buddhist temple in Japan for several years, and he's an amazing musician. And I heard him, and I realized, oh wow, that's the closest that I've ever heard someone play the way I would like to play.
How was he? Can you describe the way it was?
It's very he had severe carpal tunnel, so his technique he can't really rely on really fast lines. So he plays a lot of very melodic ideas, and really listens intently, and is always very supportive in the way that he plays with his bandmates. And I realized that was the way I would like to play. And I think a really great learning experience for me when I was in college was playing with some funk bands. I was playing with some funk bands and some pop bands, and just learning to put away all the technical stuff that you learn, like all your altered skills and all that, because at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter, and you might think, oh, it's so cool, no one in the audience cares.
And with funk, it's more like vamps and stuff.
Yeah, it's more
It's
vamps.
not that heady intellectual.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just making sure that especially with music like that, the biggest thing is making sure that the audience is having a good time. So putting aside all that intellectual stuff and being able to, breathe and just have a good time, play some, high licks, play some stuff that normally you wouldn't play, but you got to do it for the audience. And I think that was a really good experience.
Can you talk about your brother's also a musician.
Not my brother. But I have a good friend.
A good friend. So
yeah.
in your world, musically, what has been a challenge that you faced or adversity that you faced? Ultimately, we all grow through adversity.
Yeah.
And maybe it wasn't a technical part of it, but maybe it's getting out of your own way. Maybe it's, you've been off the bandstand for a minute, but yet you've also, you told me off air that you could pick up your horn and get gigs at any moment. So,
I think it's partly because of the Tucson scene,
The
Tucson scene doesn't have a lot of great saxophonists right now, unfortunately.
That's a very good point. There's a lot of heady cats, but saxophone players, no.
Yeah. You got Bryce, but Bryce is mostly teaching. Mike Moynihan isn't gigging that much either.
He's a great player.
He's an amazing player.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so for saxophonists, especially during the school year,